Hi, I'm Christina and I'm a furniture flipper, and in today's video I'm going to show you how you can make over a dated dresser with paint and a sprayer. This furniture makeover starts now. I got this dresser off of Facebook Marketplace for around $40. It's in pretty good shape minus the damage on the top. The hardware needs to go and the space definitely needs to be modernized, but the drawers are in really great shape. I started off by flipping this thing on its back and it did have a little bit of structural damage, so I just glued this structural support back together and I'm going to put that back on, getting rid of some of the cobwebs, and then I'm going to use my jigsaw to hack off this curvy part of the base. If you've been here before, you've definitely seen me do this before. This is a quick, easy way to modernize a base without having to completely rebuild it. Once I hacked those pieces off, I just grabbed my sander and smoothed those areas out. And once my wood glue was dry, I just put the support back on and flipped this thing back right side up, and it looks so much better already. The next step to modernize this dresser is remove this hardware that is very dated, so I'm just going to take all of this off. And like I always preach, every great furniture makeover needs to start with the proper cleaning and prep of your dresser. So I'm taking some simple green, I'm going to scrub off all that grease and grime and dirt, and then I'm going to rinse it with some clean water. I'm going to be able to use some of the existing hardware holes, but for the bottom 4 drawers, it was a funky size, so I'm going to go ahead and fill those so it's easier to replace the hardware. I'm grabbing some Dex plastic wood that comes in the pink color, and then it dries natural when it's ready to sand, so I really love that feature because you don't have to guess when it's time to sand. And then I'm grabbing my little extension pad here for my Festool sander to get in some of the grooves and do a little bit of scuff sanding. I used a 220 on the body of the piece, and then on the top I'm using a 120 sandpaper to do a little bit of corrective sanding, and then I'm going to wipe back all that dust. I'm going to be spraying my paint today on this dresser, so I'm taping off the inside of the drawers because I will be leaving them in. And this portion of the video is brought to you by Wagner Spray Tech. Now that my dresser is all prepped, I'm going to grab my large Wagner spray tent and set this up to protect my garage. Once you get the hang of it, you can definitely put this up by yourself, and I can get it up in about 5 minutes now. I'm going to be using an all-in-one paint today that has a primer and top coat built in, but I'm going to do a little bit extra protection with this Zinsser Bullseye 123 for a couple reasons. This piece has a pretty strong odor, so this is going to give me some odor blockage protection, and a lot of spots on this dresser are laminate, so for adhesion purposes, a primer is just going to be a good idea here. When I spray, I like to have my stuff thinned out. I think it just goes better for me, so I have thinned this primer out to the specifications on the can. So I have put my primer in my detail finish nozzle of my Wagner Flexio 3500. I love this thing because it has multiple adjustable settings to suit my project. So I have the air power on top that I can play with. It has an on-off switch on the side, and then this controls my material flow. You can also spray in a couple directions, side to side like this, or up and down if you turn the nozzle. Even though I have sprayed this primer a lot and used this gun a lot, I always test out my paint before I take it to my dresser. It's always a good idea. For this particular primer, I have it watered down with 1 ounce of water to 12 ounces of primer. And when I do that, I like to have my gun set at a number 5 airflow. And I have the material flow pretty open, but I just kind of tweak that back and forth until I'm happy with the amount of paint that's coming out. I do have a video with a beginner's tips for this specific sprayer, so I will link that up above and in the description box for you if you want to learn more about this sprayer. But I have gotten so comfortable using it, and it's crazy that I say that because I used to hand paint everything, but spraying saves me so much time. I would say it's at least 10 times faster than hand painting. You guys saw me hand paint that table last week. It took me forever, but I'm able to get these coats on here with the primer in under 10 minutes. And I always get the question, should I take my drawers out or can I spray with them in? And when your drawers are flush like this, I prefer to keep them in. I think it's easier. It saves a lot of space. I just make sure that I tape off the inside, and it helps me get all the areas I need to get. It saves me time, but you are welcome to do whatever you feel is the best decision for you. This primer dries really quickly and it can be recoated in about 30 minutes to an hour. So I'm just taking a really fine sandpaper here and just sanding down the top. I'm not going to worry about the body because it's really curvy and has a lot of details in it, but I just want to make sure that the top is really smooth. So I'm just sanding that down and wiping back the dust. I'm also only going to do this second coat of primer on the top just because it had a lot of that damage. The rest of the body looks like 1 coat was enough coverage. I let that dry again for an hour, and then I did a little bit of that in-between coat sanding before I added my paint. Like I mentioned, I am using an all-in-one paint for this project today. This is a new paint to me. This is Melange's One Line in the color Restoration Bronze. So again, this has a primer in it and has a top coat in it, and it has the paint in it. I love spraying paints like this. I think my goal is to try as many of these one paints as I can, and I really haven't found one that I haven't liked yet. So I'm excited to try this one. I'm straining it just like I always do whenever I'm putting paint in my sprayer, and then I'm adding a little bit of water to this. It's a little bit thinner than other paints that I've sprayed. These one paints, all-in-one paints, tend to be a little bit thinner, so I typically do about 1 ounce of water to 20 ounces of paint. Stirred that all up, and now I'm good to go. And of course, you always gotta grab that respirator when you're using the sprayer. And what else am I gonna do? I'm gonna test my paint on a board before I spray my dresser. I don't care how experienced you are, this is always gonna help you out. So here I go with my paint, and again, I think the setting I just like on the sprayer is like a 5. This is what I'm spraying the paint at as well, and it went on really great. I think the two most important things to remember when working with a sprayer is that you want to be closer than you think. You want to be about 6 to 8 inches away from your piece, and I think the natural instinct is to kind of be like a foot away. That is too far away. You definitely need to be closer than that, and you really need to focus on overlapping your strokes by at least 30 to 50% to give you that smooth finish. So my first initial thoughts on spraying this paint, it went on really well. It sprayed beautifully, and it claims to have self-leveling properties, which I can definitely attest to, because as it dried down, it just looked smoother and smoother.
What do you gotta say, Bane?
Sweaty.
Melange was kind enough to give me a discount code for you guys, so if you're wanting to check out their one paint or any of their other products that they sell, they're going to give you 10% off when you use the code PRETTY10 at checkout. I let the paint dry for 2 hours, and I got my hardware jig out, and I'm going to drill my new hardware holes. I'm doing this between the first and second coat just in case I scrape or damage anything. And then once I get that second coat on, it'll kind of fix any of those problems, because you know, guys, this is my least favorite part of doing makeovers, but this hardware jig that I got from Amazon definitely makes it a little bit easier, but it's still one of the most stressful things of my furniture makeovers. And on this second coat, I'm going to pull out these drawers a little bit so that I can get around the frames. I had enough clearance on my drawers that once I painted them, I could push them back in. Since I have saved so much time spraying my piece this week, I have a little bonus in this video for you. I'm gonna do some of my thrift flips that everybody seems to love. I got most of this glassware for, you know, $1 or $2 a piece, really affordable, and I'm gonna take these and make them look like West Elm or Pottery Barn vases by spraying them with some paint. So I'm just starting by prepping them by cleaning them off and giving them a good rinse. And I have 2 little fun things to show you from Wagner, their small spray shelter, which is so easy to set up compared to, you know, the large tent is fairly easy to set up, but watch how easy this one is to set up. And the other fun craft product that I'm going to use is their little turntable that sets up right in here, and it's going to make it really easy to spray these vases and make sure I'm getting all the way around, and it is a lot quicker than having to pick it up and move it yourself. And it's given me a nice, even, smooth finish all the way around. I'm using some off-white furniture paint that I had left over. It is a chalk style paint, so it doesn't have a sealer in it, and it's going to give that really chalky, beautiful finish so it looks like a stone vase. The small shelter is really easy to take down as well, and if you want a chance to win your own shelter, turntable, and Flexio 3500, head over to my Instagram because I'm going to be doing a giveaway over there with Wagner. Okay, now that my vases and my dresser have dried overnight, I'm just going to do the finishing touches here. So I'm taking off my paint that was protecting from overspray, and I'm adding new hardware. All the drawers are in really good shape because they had drawer liners in there, so I'm just going to remove these old drawer liners. I'm going to take my sanding pad and just touch up any little areas that might have had a little overspray on them, and then I'm going to grab my furniture balm that is scented, and it's just going to refresh the inside of these drawers. And the finishing touches here for you, I'm gonna style with my little vases that I made over. Just to remind you, here is what we started off with, this dated dresser, and here it is now. I don't know about you, but I am pretty obsessed with this color, and I love the way the vases turned out. It is such an easy way to flip things you find at the thrift store. This paint definitely gets 2 thumbs up for me. I love the finish on it. I love the leveling, and we'll see how it holds up. Let me know what you guys think of this makeover. I will be back next week with another project, and I will see you then.